The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. Joining me today is Joanne Mercier. Hey, Joanne.
Hey, Dom.
So today we're really digging into one particular... We're going to approach a series of that's kind of related over time. We're going to be talking about family history a lot, and we're going to talk about genealogy. We're going to talk about how you can use tech to record your family stories and histories from folks in your family. But this time we're approaching the topic of how to make sure that the family history, family memories that you have now will survive. You could have it to pass on to the next generation and beyond. And so we're going to talk about how you digitize your family memories in the various forms of media. And that's what we're really talking about is photos, video, film, all that stuff. We're going to talk about that. So, because basically everybody has a box in the basement, right?
Yes, they do.
Or your mom and dad's basement or whatever it is, or attic. And it's full of photo prints and VHS tapes labeled in mom's handwriting and a canister of Super 8 film. Kids, ask your parents what that is. Maybe a drawer of mini DV cassettes that nobody has a device that can play it anymore. So we're going to be talking about how to approach all of that. And this shouldn't be something you look at as maybe someday I'll get to it, because with all of this stuff, all physical media, the clock is ticking. It is, as you sit here listening to this podcast, as we're making this, it's degrading wherever it is. It's getting older. It's starting to fall apart. And estimates vary, but the working assumption is among archivists is that consumer VHS and 8mm videotape starts meaningfully degrading somewhere in the 10 to 25 year range. How old are your tapes?
You don't want to know.
Most I think any tapes that I have still, I've digitized a lot already, but anything I have still is probably older than that. So photos are a little more forgiving, but they still fade. They stick to things. They get thrown out when a house gets cleaned out. That happened when my mom passed and my sister cleaned out her things. A lot of that got tossed before it got scanned. And then the hardware. Do you have a VCR in your house anymore? A high-8 camcorder, a reel-to-reel video film player, projector, FireWire, things with FireWire ports. I was just cleaning out my closet of old tech this weekend, and I found a bag of FireWire cables, and I'm like, I might hold on to these in particular because
I kept one.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Just in case. Because I think I still have a video camera that uses FireWire. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing so Joanne, do you have one of these boxes? Or are you better than me?
I had all these boxes.
Yeah.
I had paper bags with 8mm and 16mm film. And I would say a good 15 years ago, I said, I need to do something with these because this is just going to get bad fast, especially the film, because the film was already at that point 50 years old.
Yeah.
So I said, if I do not get this on, a digitized platform, I'm in trouble. And not just put it on a CD or a DVD.
Yeah. I need to
digitize this. So I started really early in the game, and I'm still finding things because I'm doing a complete clean throwaway. I'm recondoing everything right now in my life.
Right.
And I'm still finding more. Like I have those mini DVDs.
Yes.
DVD play, but I still have my camera. And that's why I needed the FireWire.
Right.
Because I still have the camera. I still have the FireWire adapter so that I can get it into a computer. Mm-hmm. So you still find these things. I had a VCR until about a year ago and it crashed.
Yeah.
And that was it. But by then I had done most of the VCR,
yeah,
the VHS tapes.
And
we all have these, but the sooner we can get to them, the better. And we really shouldn't put them off too long.
Right. And if you don't have it yourself, someone in your family has this box. Someone's got this stuff. So let's start from the top. And this is a big topic. I'm not sure we're going to get through everything today, but whatever we don't get to today, we'll revisit this, like I said. So the first thing is you got to start with a plan. You got to assess what do you got? So the most common way that this fails is you go out and you start buying gear to digitize stuff, and then you quit like halfway through the box because it's like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I don't have a plan. So first, figure out what you got. What do you have? Do you have loose prints? Do you have albums where the photos are in the photo album? Do you have slides and negatives, VHS tapes, video 8 or high 8 or digital 8 or mini DV or 8mm, Super 8 film, audio cassettes, even reel-to-reel audio, floppies, CDRs? I was showing my kids a box of floppies when I was cleaning out my closet.
What did they say?
I said, "What? You know what this is?" And my son says, "It's a floppy disk." No, I said, "No, it's a 3D printed save icon."
Oh,
no, but
that confused him.
Yeah, he's like, "What?" No, just kidding. It's a floppy. He knew, but
okay.
But yeah, I mean that's the first step is that inventory part.
Mm-hmm. And it's tough.
Yeah.
Because now here's the thing. You're so tempted when you see everything to start looking at it right away.
Yes.
No. Start putting it in piles. Here's all my VHS tapes. Here's all my Super 8 tapes. Here's all my audio cassettes. Because if you start listening, that's a rabbit hole you will not want to go down right away.
Right. It'll distract you off of what you're doing, and you'll ADHD into memory land, which is nice, but that's the goal. You want to be able to do that at the end of this process, is to sit down and enjoy all this.
Right, and try to find everything in the house.
Yes. And ask you if siblings or cousins or mom and dad or whoever, what do you have? Get it all. Understand everything.
Yes, make it good for them. See, I'm going to do all of this, so just give it to me.
Right, and then you will have access to this when we're done.
Yes.
Yeah. The second step is to triage, but there's two different kinds of triage. First, you triage by urgency, not sentiment. In other words, the order of decay risk. Roughly, magnetic videotape and audio tape first, because those are going to decay first. Color prints and slides from the 60s to the 80s, the dye in those start to fade pretty early. Polaroids are especially bad for that.
Oh, yes.
Polaroids were terrible. The means of keeping things. Then black and white prints and film, which are surprisingly durable. And then anything that's already digital, but in formats that need to be updated, right? That's the final thing. And you want to think about what you already have digital, our photo libraries and that sort of stuff.
And where they've been stored.
Yeah.
Like I managed to store most of my stuff in a basement. Now our basement is controlled with a dehumidifier, which is a good thing. And of course, all this stuff was in containers that were waterproof.
Yep.
Most of them anyway. So when I did this, I made sure the stuff that wasn't in those containers were done first.
Right.
Because they had the most probability of decay.
Attic may be terrible.
That's rough.
The heat, especially for any tapes, anything like that, and photos. It's a bad place. So, that's it. And those old films, do those first. Figure out what you're going to do those first. You're probably not going to. We'll get into what you do with them in a bit, but those are the sort of thing you'll probably be giving to somebody to do for you.
Right.
But that's you want to triage by how fast the things are going to decay. The second thing is triage then by values. Not every photo is one you want to keep. And, we see this in the digital age, right? It's so easy to take photos now. And my family photo library, the digital photo library, is so full of pictures of random flowers and things when you had to pay to develop film back in the day, or buy film and pay to develop it, you were more selective. But even then, there's probably a lot of stuff that you look at it and you're going to say, I don't even know why I took this photo, why anyone took this photo.
I still have a container up here up in the second floor of my house of photos that came from my cousins. Now, I don't know half these people that were on her other side of the family, and B, how many pictures do I want of her trip to Hawaii of places that I don't recognize?
Right, exactly. They hold no meaning to you.
To me, no, and she's gone.
Right.
So
I mean, some of that stuff would be of interesting historical interest, perhaps, but you know, you triage. Historical interest is probably lower than personal family interest.
Right.
The Library of Congress advice on personal archiving is, they say, think like an archivist and work top down in clumps rather than agonizing item by item. In other words, group things. Okay, you know, Aunt May's trip to Hawaii, maybe less important. My sister's baptism photos, more important. My parents' wedding photos, definitely important. You know that. So boom, you know, group that value that they have for the future. And think about what's the sort of thing I would have wanted to see from my grandparents, and then think about your second generation after you. What would they want to see? And that's how you. It's not that you're going to not do those things, but the other things come second.
Right. So take care of the people you recognize first.
Yeah.
Put the people you don't recognize to the side. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get rid of them, because family historians will always tell you there is somebody out there to whom these people belong to. And there are websites that I mean, this is a topic for another day, but there are websites that you can actually put these photos on, and other people kind of comb them to see if they can find their relatives.
Right.
Some people have started their own websites or YouTube and said, do you know this person? Do you know this person?
Right.
And people have found their relatives by that.
And think of the future technology. Think of how good AI will be in a few years, where you could send your AI agent to comb these sites, and we'll say, oh, I found these 70 photos of this relative of yours on this site.
Right.
That's going to be a big thing. So yeah, those things are still going to be important. But we're making a hierarchy of value here.
Right.
And then look at the quality of what you got. Right. If the photos are blurry or they can't be fixed up. Maybe they're just not worth saving. You're like, Uncle Joe and his broken camera that he kept taking photos with, his thumb was always in front of the lens. There's no need to save that.
Right. Or when you were a teenager and you were trying to take pictures of high school events.
Yeah.
And of course, everything's a blur. Right. And speaking of those 70s photos, for me, they all went in those albums that had little tacky back.
Yeah.
So that and then the film went over it.
Yeah.
It is so hard to get those out without destroying them.
Yeah, those were a bad idea.
That is a tough thing. We can talk about a little bit more of what you do to that later, but you might want to leave them where they are and try not to take them out. Take it from somebody who's had some success and more failure doing that.
And you actually make another interesting point, which is when you're doing this process, don't necessarily take things out of where they're even if you can take them out of the album, maybe you don't want to. Maybe you want to keep things where they are. You made a good point about that.
The person who put them in there in that order did it specifically.
Yeah.
So you want to keep them in that order, even if you find old ones that have the little corner sticky things that you put the photo in.
Yeah.
What I did was I wrote the number on the back. So I'd say page 1, photo 1, 2, 3, 4, and tried to put them in order when I scan them.
Right.
Again, because I learned that later on after I just taken them out, and then I went, how do I put these back?
Right.
I didn't know how to put them back.
Hard lesson to learn. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or even take a snapshot of the photo album pages with your phone. Then you'll have a record of what they looked like before you started. So just think ahead. It's start to plan ahead. And then decide up front, am I going to do it myself, or am I going to have someone else do it? And there are lots of services. There are local businesses that'll do this. There are mail order businesses. But the question is are you going to follow through on this? Right. This is, we're balancing, safety of your things, ensuring that it's going to, this priceless stuff is going to be safe, and cost versus time, and all of these factors. So if you've got a box of 500 photos, scanning those is a weekend. A collection of 40 VHS tapes, that's a lot more work. If you've got a box of 5,000 photos, that's more than a weekend.
Even 500 is a tough one, because it depends on how you do it.
Yeah.
If you're laying them on a flatbed, it's slower.
Yeah.
If you dare put them through a
scanner, like a sheet fed. Yeah.
That is scary.
Yeah.
Because it will crinkle, or it can destroy the photo.
Right.
That's why flatbed scanners have always been, the gold standard. If you're going to do it on a flatbed.
Right. Right. Or the negatives. That's the other thing too, by the way. Don't throw away negatives.
No, don't.
Yeah.
Ever throw away a negative, because if you find the photo and the photo looks crappy, the negative won't.
Right. If the photo has faded over time, the negative, you can recreate it from the negative. The negative is gold. Man, I wish I'd known that when I was young and throwing away things.
See, we didn't know a lot of that. Even when I started doing this, we didn't know a lot of that. So now I'm trying to say, kids, don't do what I did.
Exactly. We're giving you the benefit of the lessons we've learned. And then what's your end game? What's your finish line? Where are these files going to live when you're done? Who's going to get a copy? And someone should. We'll talk about that in a bit. What happens to the originals? Like, so where is this? What is your goal for where this is all going to live? And the decisions like that will affect the steps you're going to take. But there are a lot of options for where these can go onto a NAS in your local network. They can go onto a website. There are photo sharing services. I was actually in an online group of people using AI for different things, and this one guy said he had Claude build an app that lives. It's like a web app that has an interactive family tree with all the photos. So basically, as you go through the family tree, you can look at the photos from that have that person, and then shared it with his family. And they were like, people were freaking out. And there's an option for people to add their memories from these pictures with it, and they're all built by Claude. And so basically, whatever the cost of a AI subscription for a period of time would
I need this. I need this.
And I know you use Claude. You can just tell Claude, do this. This is a project I want to do. Let's do this. I have built, it's a whole nother topic. I've built like 10 apps in the past 2 months using Claude that have been amazing. Little improvements to the quality of life, the work that I do. It is amazing. So yeah, you could. This is I heard that. I'm like, oh, Joanne would like that.
yes, because right now, my photos that I've scanned and everything live on my NAS as well as the movies do.
Right.
So, and I do, have my relatives come and see them, but none of them have taken me up. See, this is the problem.
Right.
They say yes, they want it, and then they don't come unless it's something important.
Right.
Like, do you have that picture of my mother?
Right.
That I had, or did I give you that? And I've tried to set it up for them, and it's hard. But family history, there's always one person.
Yes.
That kind of spearheads the whole thing, and the rest sort of follow in afterwards. So do not discourage.
Yes. Be that person.
Yes.
Right. So let's talk about the photo slides and negatives, right? Dealing with those. How do we get those digitized? So we started talking about flatbed versus sheet fed scanners. So a flatbed scanner is the safest in the sense of, we all know how flatbed scanners work, or copy machines or that sort of thing. You can put anything down on it. It doesn't matter the size, as long as it fits on the size of the scanner, basically. So like album pages and that sort of thing. But as you said, it's slow. It is, you open it up, you put it down, you have the scanner doing the thing. You could do it while you're watching TV, or doing, something else, listening to a book or a podcast or something like that. But it's a slow, tedious process. You could use a sheet fed photos, like a photo scanner, not one that does the whole, where turns a corner underneath, or it has to be a straight line. And you want to, there are sheet fed scanners that are intended for photos, right? But anything fragile, anything curled, anything that you don't want to remove, like if it's glued to a page, or that's not going to work for that. But
those scare me.
Yeah,
they just scare me from what I've done. I would rather put it all on a flatbed.
Yeah.
Being said, I have a flatbed. I have an Epson. Husband got it for me for Christmas years ago. It still works great. Only problem is the software.
Right.
That's the issue. I'm not about to buy another one.
It's like printers are like, especially if you're on a Mac, like printers has kind of solved, like printer drivers is not an issue anymore. Scanner drivers are still not great. And that is an issue. Those they go out of date. You got to replace them. But you had a good a suggestion, by the way, for the expense of a scanner.
Yeah, because and this is what a lot of us in genealogy do: is you either buy one like with your family, and let's all go in on it together. I'll take all the photos, which is, you're committing to a lot, but still. And then when you're done with it, and I say you're never done with it, but when you're done with it, you can resell it. Now, that's what a lot of family history people have done. They go up on eBay, you'll see them there, and another person buys them and uses it for their photos and then sells it again.
Which maybe you could go look at eBay or Facebook Marketplace and find a scanner that you want to use. So you don't have to necessarily go out and buy a brand new one either.
Right.
So what about phone scanning apps? Like, a Google Scan, Google Photo Scan, and there's some others out there that will scan photos for you. Are those good enough?
They can be in certain situations. Like, say, for example, you have an old photo in a frame and you can't get it out. Okay, and you've got the glass. Now, if you use a camera, it's going to reflect.
Right.
But Google's photo scan, the way it does it is that when you go to scan, it will give you 4 circles, one on every corner. And you're to go to each one, as carefully as you can without shaking, which is hard for older people, but I understand. And you go up and you hit every one of those circles, and through the magic of Google, it gets rid of the glare. And the picture looks pretty good.
Right.
I mean, it's not the best quality, but I can't get photos from 1930 out of what I call bubble frames, because they didn't have flat frames. They had rounded frames, and you can't get those out. Those are hard for you to get out because they're real glass. They're heavy. Right. So this is when you use something like PhotoScan, or I've used it during research when I go to a family history and they have something that shows all of my relatives' information on a screen. I use it with monitors. Right. Because instead of printing it, if you're at a family history center, they're saying, we want 25 cents a copy. Now, do I want paper again? Yeah. And then you got to digitize that back. Right. So I just use Google Photo Scan, and it gives me what I need. Or like you're at grandma's house and she's got priceless photos on the wall that she's not going to give you to take with you. Not at all. Then you just do this the Google Photo Scan, which is a nice option. It's not the highest resolution, but it's good enough for a lot of things. You want to prefer, if you can, to use a real scanner. And so what kind of resolution are we looking at? So 600 dot per inch is the practical sweet spot for a standard photo, 4x6, 3x5, that sort of thing. That's high enough where you could reprint it at a modest enlargement, maybe up to an 8x10. But you don't drown, like the file size is not so huge that you have to buy, today's really expensive hard drives. But if you've got the room or the money, 1,200. I've used double that, 1,200. Right. It gives you space. Yeah, you just want to be as clear as possible because you don't know in the future if you're going to ever need something bigger than an 8x10. Right.
And if you're
for something.
And if you're scanning slides or negatives, you have to go much higher, 3,000 DPI, because of the way that they work. Because they're so small, they need to be blown up a lot more. So yeah, definitely. But those are slides and negatives require a different equipment. Negative scanners, slide scanners.
But a flatbed, like the Epson one that I have, has a tray
adapter. Yeah.
That you put the slides in or the negatives, and then you position it a certain way. You tell it it's a negative or a slide, and it will adjust its camera to do what it needs to do.
And it will break them out into individual files. Yep.
Well, a flatbed will do that too.
Yeah, you could lay down.
If you put 4 different photos on it, it will recognize there are 4 different photos.
That's true. That's true. Yep. File format you want to use for your archival purposes, JPEG. You don't want to do JPEG. You know, to scan. You want to scan it into a lossless format. TIFF is the generally accepted one. You know, that is they're bigger files, but it means that all the data is there. JPEG is lossy format, which means it throws out some of the data that your eye isn't going to see necessarily, but that means that it's never going to be there in the future when you so like TIFF or RAW we talk about sometimes in imagery. So TIFF is the archival copy, and then if you want to share it, you make JPEGs, and those are much smaller, and those are easy to email or whatever.
And if you're going to do anything else with it, like touch-up work or, you know, because there are some websites that will do photo restoration as part of their family history, and I'm thinking MyHeritage at the moment. Never give them your original.
Right.
Always give a copy. Always play with a copy.
Never edit your original.
Never edit your original.
When you scan it, you save it into a deep storage area, and then you keep a copy that you're going to edit and do, you know, photo restoration or whatever it is you're going to do to it. But yeah, that original is, even if it doesn't look right, even if it, you know, you're like, oh, I could just, you know, lighten it, just save it, because what will happen is in 10, 20, 40, 50 years, there'll be all new software that can do what looks like magic to us. And it wants the original that has all the data still, the original data. So
yes, it does. And I've learned that the hard way too.
Right. It doesn't even take that long. A couple of years can make a huge difference, especially as fast as stuff is moving now. So things you want to remember to scan is the backs of the photos, especially if they have names, dates, other descriptions on them. Album pages that have captions, the photo envelopes that they're in that have the development dates stamped on them, right? That's all metadata. That's all context for what this is and where it came from. And if you don't save that, you've got the photo, but you don't have any of the story that goes with it.
Right. And that's important. Like, I know still a lot of the people in these photos because I remember them. But when my cousin, who was 20 years older than me, her memory started to fade, it was difficult. She'd look at the photo and she would start to hesitate. But the minute she knew who people were, I would take the photo and with a very soft pencil write very lightly who these people were. Right. That way, when I digitize the photo, I could say, okay, this is Mary and Jane and Susan.
Right. And this was 1962 or whatever it was. Right.
Usually it was 1930. Right. No, actually, she wasn't that old. She was 1940 or 50.
Right. Don't use a ballpoint pen. Don't use a Sharpie.
Never.
They will damage.
They'll bleed right through.
Yeah. Ballpoint pen is too hard. And again, if you're scanning it, sometimes the writing is faded a bit. You'll be able to bring that up. You're less worried about the originals of the backs than you are of the fronts. But yeah.
And if you want to save these pictures after you do them, because some people do, some people don't want to ditch everything. They'll ditch some of the originals, but I think more the newer ones. But the older ones, they're still kind of preserving. There is archival paper Like I have envelopes that I put them in.
Right.
And they're archival. They're made a certain way
They're
so that
acid free. They preserve the.
You can buy all those things and put them in binders and pass them on.
And store them in special boxes that are made for storing this sort of thing.
Exactly.
Right. Again, saving the digital originals is great. Saving the originals is maybe even a little better if you can.
Your great-grandchildren may thank you.
Yes. Some historian 500 years from now will definitely thank you. The reason we know so much about the past is because people preserved it. That's a big thing to think about. You may think that the things that you photographed are mundane, or that your grandfather photographed are mundane or unimportant. That's the stuff that's gold for history.
Yeah.
There was a story about a woman who just no one really knew who she was, but she walked around New York in the 1930s and 40s with a camera and just recorded everything. And those pictures, like just mundane stuff in the street, no one thought it was important at the time. And that's the sort, like, the historians love that because this woman has done such a service of preserving what life was. So something to keep in mind. There are services you can mail in your stuff and have it scanned. If you have a lot, that it's a reasonable way to deal with it. You are mailing irreplaceable, priceless originals somewhere. So what's the turnaround time? Have they been reviewed by others? Is there insurance, which doesn't save you if things are lost, but it means that they're thinking about it. Will they return the originals to you? That's, you make sure you know that up front.
They will. I used Legacy Box.
Yep.
And I have mixed reviews on it because for VHS tapes, they were great. Okay. For slides, they were not as great. Okay. I used a local firm, which is now out of business, unfortunately. They were the only ones in Rhode Island doing it. And I did my film and I did some slides there. They were better at the slides, definitely.
Yeah.
And on the film, they were beautiful, but you'd walk into their store, because they had a store you could actually walk into, and they had every piece of equipment known to man, woman, and child that recorded anything. I saw some very interesting pieces of hardware, and they were great. So it's up to you. You know what you can do. I couldn't do film.
Yeah.
Although you can buy those film editors on Amazon, you can see them, but I didn't want to mess with that.
Yeah, a lot of
I wanted
work.
somebody. I wanted somebody who really knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
So with film, I kept it local, but with VHS, I said, "What the heck? I'll take a shot at it." And Legacy Box did a. I thought they did a good job on that stuff, because I know I can also put it now into Final Cut Pro and play with it. Right.
And we're going to I want to talk more about the video aspect next. That's the next thing we do want to talk about. But I'll close the loop on the services. What's their privacy policies on your images? Make sure they're not going to use them for other things. So that's going to come up later in another aspect as well. And what resolution or format are you going to get back? How are they going to send them to you? Are you going to have to download them? Are they going to be high quality downloads? Something to think about.
Legacy Box will always ask you, do you want a DVD? Do you want a stick? They'll always ask that question.
Right.
And they get them back to you right away. Wait for sales. But sales aren't always the best, because that's when they get the biggest volume of stuff in, and it's either not as good because they're trying to get it out fast, or it takes a long time to get back. So weigh the cost versus, do you want your stuff done well?
It's cost benefit analysis. So let's talk about video. So VHS, camcorder tapes, film. So if you're going to do it yourself, you're going to need a working player and a way to get that analog, data into a digital device. So some type of capture device. Again, unless you have a VCR in your basement, that from the old days, or still in your home theater system, God bless you.
that works.
Yeah. Keep in mind, they haven't made VCRs in years. So even the used ones, they have belts and rollers that are aging and starting to go. So, you know, that's, I have a feeling that as time goes on, there will be specialty manufacturers of these devices to help for this purpose of preserving.
Right.
But there will not be a mainstream, inexpensive device.
Mine just went to the great recycling bin in the sky.
Yeah.
Because it had to. It just wasn't working anymore.
Right.
And to buy another one, if you look, they're either real expensive, new, or you're taking a chance that somebody on eBay actually has one that does work.
Yeah.
They can sell it to you, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for too long. Mine chugged along until last year.
Right.
And then it finally blew.
Yeah. So you're going analog to digital. So the analog part of this is important. There are VCRs had different, all of these had different types of connections that transfer the information. Composite is the worst quality. S video is better. If both devices use it, the capture device and the player, you can look for something called time-based corrector, or TBC, in the VCRs that they were higher end VCRs. They would automatically correct for unstable tape signals, like the rolling image and the static. You'll see this in YouTube, especially with like old YouTube's of TV commercials that you'll see.
Not just TV commercial, TV shows.
Yeah. On YouTube, I love the fact that people have saved all of this on YouTube, and you can find old ads and stuff like that from your childhood. So, the single biggest quality difference between a good capture and a bad one is this part of the equation, and cheap USB dongles won't fix that. Like you want to make sure you're doing quality at this part of the whole thing.
I used an Elgato capture.
Yeah.
And that worked really well because it had the S video.
Yeah.
So you could do that, and then when it goes into the computer, and of course it'll always show you how it's doing it.
Right.
As it's going along.
Yeah.
It still works. These things still work. It's just,
you get the brand names, don't go for the ones with the, 10 letters, random letters in capital letter,
that are definitely Chinese.
Yeah, right. Just look for a brand name. They even have like little USB capture sticks with an interface on the end that you can plug into a USB port on your computer. Those are probably not going to give you the best results. It's not, if this is the only copy that will ever exist in the future, you want something that gives something better. Right. Now, digital tape, mini DV, digital 8, that's actual digital data. So, when you're doing that, you're transferring a copy. You're not re-recording, which is essentially what you're doing with VHS. And that's typically FireWire. And getting FireWire into a modern Mac or Windows, they don't support it natively now. So you need to get adapters, which are rare and expensive. So if you have a mini DV, find an older machine, like an older computer that can do it, or use a service and do it now while you still can. Which I'm feeling that because I've got a box of mini DVD tapes.
Do you still have a recorder?
I still have the recorder.
Okay, good, because that's the best thing to do. And if you can get the adapters, then they go right into it. But I'm trying to get all of that done so that I can sell the machine. Right. Because I know there are other people out there that are going to want this.
Right. That's the thing, is if you still have the machines, they're worth something. So so, and then there are, there are higher tiers in the capture level. They're a little more expensive. RF level capture, which takes the raw signal off of the head and decodes it in software. That's a much more technical thing. Higher learning curve. So there is a ceiling that exists with where it's not for everyone, so there are areas you can go to where it's very technical and it's not really regular consumer level, maybe prosumer level, hobbyist level. Film is not like tape, 8 millimeter, Super 8, 16 millimeter. Nope. That needs optical transfer, not a capture card. So don't point a camera at a projector screen. That's a bad. No. That's not going to come out. You're going to need a professional service for that.
Yeah, you need to find somebody who understands that type of film.
Yeah.
So you're looking for people like as old as me.
Right.
The younger ones, there were some younger ones who play in that area, so don't want to generalize, but that is a different medium than VHS.
Right. Yes, definitely. Audio, don't skip audio. Cassettes, micro cassettes of grandparents' voices. I was talking about this earlier. Voicemails, even on your phone. I get voicemails of my parents that I've kept because that's the only,
Me too.
Answering machine tapes, reel to reel. And I have a cassette player with a USB port on it that I can use that I've used for things in the past. I have cassettes of music that I bought at like festivals or, at clubs and stuff from independent musicians I wanted to save. I wanted to digitize them, not on iTunes or Spotify. So I did that. But if you have other types of audio, definitely save those.
I have, believe it or not, I was using a cassette deck for a while, but then I realized I had an old boombox that had the right type of ports, and that has 2 cassette, because I used to do double cassette because of recording for musicians, and it has a CD player on top.
Oh, wow.
So I've been using that lately. To get all of that in. And I just did that before a friend of mine passed away last year. We had a bunch of tapes that we had recorded at cabaret rehearsals. Oh. And I was able to put them on, MP3s and play it for her.
Nice. Very nice.
So that's that's the kind of, this is part of the reason why you're doing it.
Yes. This is a selfless exercise in a way. You're doing it not just for yourself, you're doing it for others, including people who are not even born yet. And that's an important charitable aspect to that. So as far as this goes, when you're digitizing, it's a balancing act. You're looking at, is it the line between good enough and do it properly? And you need to find where that line is for you on not even just in general, just in individual pieces. How important is it? Does it need to, is it just family photos of yet another vacation to the same house? Good enough. If it's a priceless moment, do it properly. You need to find that line for every part of this. Now, I want to talk about the metadata. I kind of want to go through this fairly quickly, but it's important. This is a step that you don't want to skip. A hard drive of 12,000 files, all named IMG_0042. That's not an archive. It's just a landfill with your family in it. Okay. You need to capture the meaning of things. Who, what, where, when, why. You need to, and that information comes from people, not from the necessarily from the image or whatever that you're capturing. Sometimes metadata comes from the camera. The camera can, especially digital cameras, will tell you time and place. Sometimes it was captured by film development. Sometimes, or older cameras will sometimes put date on it. Although that most people often didn't bother setting the correct date in their cameras, and so it doesn't record the correct date. Or it printed on the back by the photo developer, that sort of thing. So, but you want to get this data into the digital file so it stays with the file. And a lot of these capture devices and software will allow you to do that. Sit down. You mentioned this, Joanne. Sit down with your relatives, especially the oldest living ones first.
Yes.
And put the scans on the screen. Record the conversation. Use your phone. Turn it on. Start recording, or use a camera and video it. That's actually even better. And that recording might even be more valuable than the scans themselves. In the sense of what you're capturing. This is the single highest return action in the whole project. And it has an expiration date, like we all do.
Yes, it does. And that's important. We missed out on a lot of older family by not doing it. So now we're the older family.
Right. And now
And
you've
we're
got to,
trying to, and that's another thing. You are just as important as the people you are trying to document.
yes.
So tell your story
Right.
through all this.
Don't forget.
And don't let somebody else tell your story.
Right.
If you can.
Right. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?
I was going for the Hamilton reference too. So there you go.
The practical minimum for photos is an approximate date, who's in it, where it was. Everything after that is bonus, is good, but at least get within a couple of years.
Right.
Who are these people? Where did this happen? As close to it as you can get. That's the minimum that gives other people something to work with. The technology, facial recognition, AI tagging, all those tools are improving, and they're really good. They can, I've had them tag childhood photos of my parents correctly, from their later years. I mean, they can do really well. Now, keep in mind, sometimes, the Photos database, Apple Photos database, Google Photos database, that information often lives only in that database. It's not portable. Like if you move it, so something to keep in mind, but still useful. But always ask yourself, if I leave this service tomorrow, what do I lose? So what do I keep? File naming still matters. Even it helps with this. Year, month, day description as a file name. That is probably the best way to name things instead of IMG_0442. That sort of thing. Be careful about AI colorization and restoration.
Yes.
Any type of AI restoration aspects, because AI changes things, even if it says it isn't. Even like the newest, in iOS 27, this whole new thing like reframe with AI, where if you've taken a photo from one direction, you want to turn like the camera's view, you're changing what you're seeing. That's no longer the gospel truth of what was taken at that moment. It has to generate certain things. And the more you change that angle, the more you shift from the reality, the worse it gets. So keep in mind when you do that.
Yeah, that's, I'd have to think long and hard about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even with colorization, because I have a lot of black and whites. Mm-hmm. And I watch the original film Holiday Inn in black and white because I don't like the colorization.
Right.
That's just somebody saying, oh, we think that dress was green, or we think that background was blue. No. I'd rather watch it in black and white because that's what it was intended to be. That's
how the original person envisioned it.
They filmed it. Yeah. And if you see The Wizard of Oz, that's very intentional.
Yeah.
There was black and white at the beginning and the end. Don't color the whole thing. It takes away everything it's meant to be.
Right. It was an artistic choice.
Right.
And a colorized photo of your grandmother is a guess about your grandmother. It is not a record of your grandmother. Preserving it. We've talked about backups all the time. The 3-2-1 rule.
2-1, yep.
3 copies. At least 2 different types of media. 1 copy has to be off-site somewhere. They have to be separated by geographic distance. And that goes for all of your data, not just this part, but especially for this. If a tornado were to hit your house, a flood or whatever, a house, God forbid, burned down, what happens to all of this? It has to live on. I've heard too many stories of people who regret that they've lost everything, and when they lose everything, what they regret losing the most is this stuff.
The pictures. Everything that goes along with it.
Yeah, this is the stuff that matters. So for people in the long term, and every storage medium fails. Hard drives will fail. SSDs will lose charge. Optical disks rot. Cloud accounts get closed. Services go out of business. There is no permanent medium. You have to have redundancy and migration, which means I hate to say this, and this is why you said this is a job that doesn't end, a project that doesn't end. You have to think about moving everything to a new medium every 5 to 7 years.
Just about, yeah.
The saying is an archive is a habit, not a purchase.
I believe that because I've been doing that. I think this is my one steady hobby that I've been doing, which is this along with family history.
Yep. And this is why the Library of Congress is constantly conserving and restoring everything in their collection and museums, and because it requires it. This is the way we live in a world of entropy where things are constantly heading toward chaos. And
having a backup like Backblaze.
Yeah.
That you pay for, and you may look at it and say, I'm paying $70 a year for this. When you need it, it's priceless.
Exactly.
I'll take the $70 a year for that.
I would pay a lot more than that to recover some things that I lost that weren't backed up in the past. And bit rot in verification are important. Files can silently corrupt, even if the physical medium is fine or the file format is fine. The files themselves can go bad and you don't know it. Like you only know it when you go to open it. So you want to periodically go through your archive, make sure things still open, make sure they're still in good shape, that they're not getting lost or deleted.
I'm going through that now.
Yeah.
In finding old formats and saying, can I transfer this into something else?
Right. And that's the important thing. The format, open, boring formats win. So open formats that are not proprietary. So like HEIC and HEIV, the Apple formats, they look good, but they're proprietary to Apple. JPEG, TIFF, PNG, MP4s, WAVE, these are open formats that will open for years. That's why I put so much of my text data into text files and not and PDFs, because that's an open format. But I don't store important data in Word docs or whatever.
Oh dear, I need to go change those now too.
right.
I still have a lot of Word docs.
I learned this with Evernote. I put so much of my important information into Evernote, and Evernote went away. It's still around, but it's not the company it was.
It's expensive.
And it became expensive. And then it became a real big hassle to get my information out of it. Proprietary and exotic formats are a bet that company will still be around in 30 years. How many businesses are still around from 30 years ago? Cloud photo services are excellent for access and terrible for permanence. They depend on a subscription being paid and an account being accessible. What happens when you die to your Google library or your Apple Photos library? Is someone going to keep paying for that? Probably not. So we've actually done episodes on digital legacy and estate planning, that sort of thing. So we can go back and listen to our episodes on that. A lot of that information is still timeless. But think about your digital legacy and how does this live on after you? Like you don't want to go through all of this and then have it all disappear because you've died and didn't tell anyone. So that's important.
Yeah, that's one thing I've started. We've started to do estate planning. So we have a small Portuguese American archive here, which I'm planning to sit down with and say, how much of my stuff do you want?
Yep.
Because I've got Portuguese immigrants here all over the place, and I think they will probably take it.
And don't wait till later in life. If you're doing this now and you're 30 years old, think about this stuff. There's no guarantees. It's important. There are buses. There might be a bus out there with your name on it. So so an archive that nobody can find is not an archive at all. It's not preserved. Write down where the files live, how to get in, and then give that information to more than one person. Make sure that you've figured out a way to pass on this project to someone.
And I think it was Alex Haley that said, when a person dies, a library burns.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's an excellent point. All right, let's get into the bigger picture of technology and family history research. We're going to dive into this topic deeper later, so I want to kind of cover this a little broader. So from the save the box in my basement to what technology does for genealogy and family history in general. Digitized records have really revolutionized this over the past couple decades. You can Ancestry.com, FamilySearch.com, MyHeritage. Like there's tons of Digitize census records, immigration records, ship manifests, all that sort of stuff is out there and accessible. And so now you don't have to fly to Ireland necessarily, or in some cases, or Portugal, or in my case, Italy, to find out about your family history necessarily. You can actually just go online and pay a service usually. But
there are a couple of free ones, and never negate your state archives.
Oh, yeah.
And because AI is doing a lot right now with reading cursive and because in the old days it used to be they would ask people like me to come on and do like a whole bunch of files for them.
Right.
Read all of these census things. They did the census, the latest census through the 1950 through AI, and it did it faster, quicker, and better.
Yeah.
It still gets a few things wrong,
Right.
and they always ask individuals to, they say, if you see your family that there's a problem, let us know.
Right.
But AI is really pushing this forward.
Yeah, it's really making this whole thing better, easier, more accurate.
Exactly.
DNA testing was especially big a few years ago. I think it's kind of cooled off a bit. But you can. It's interesting to surface genetic relatives. I keep hearing stories from people who find relatives they didn't know they had. I had a friend who said he found out he had a cousin. A cousin that his grandfather didn't know existed. His grandfather had a daughter that he didn't know existed from a relationship as he was going off to war. With someone who stayed behind and lost contact with, and that woman's granddaughter or something basically did this and found him. This is interesting information. It can be uncomfortable, but it's interesting.
That's the thing. People who have done their DNA up to this point are the real curious, first adopter type things.
Yes.
But now more people are doing it and finding things they don't want to know.
Right.
And you've got to be careful when you decide to do your DNA. You have to think hard, because you may end up with a relative close or far off that you didn't know you had.
Yep.
And that changes then the perspective of your ancestors, or sometimes your parents.
You can learn things about family members that maybe
you didn't want to know.
Didn't need to know. Yeah.
And see, I have that right now. I have somebody in my DNA, and I will not let this person know anything else unless they ask me. We're to do no harm.
Yeah.
That's one thing about genealogists. We do no harm. We don't tell people things they're not ready for.
Right.
When she's ready, she'll ask. But right now, she ain't asking. So I say nothing.
Yep. But this can be great if you're an adoptee. Descendants of slavery, families, your records burned in a courthouse fire or a church fire, that sort of thing. This can give you information that would be lost otherwise.
Yep.
You mentioned there's something about this family tree DNA service that does something unique.
Yeah, family tree, mostly Ancestry, MyHeritage. They do what's called autosomal DNA, which is your basic admix. Who are you? You're so much Italian, you're so much Portuguese, you're so much English.
Right.
What family tree DNA does, is the first one I tested with, will also do your mother's 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 line.
Right.
Okay, so for women, and for men, you both can do that one. So that's tracing a specific line backwards.
The mitochondrial DNA, right?
Mitochondrial, and then the Y DNA, which is male.
Yep.
The father's line. So, but that's only male. Only males can do that one.
Okay.
Because they have
We're the
Y
ones with the Y.
DNA only. You're the ones with the Y, exactly.
Right.
No other company is into that right now.
Interesting.
So they do it. Plus their policy of not sharing your information is the strongest. Was the strongest when I started it. It's the one I've told people, if you're concerned about that, use that instead of Ancestry.
Right.
Because Ancestry, I wanted to fish in different ponds, so now I'm everywhere.
Yeah. Ancestry
but
is...
I don't recommend that for everybody.
Yeah, Ancestry is the Mormon church, so take that for what you will.
But they've gotten better.
Yeah.
They don't, especially with Catholics, they don't try to make that we're the only ones who think the way they do anymore. So,
Right.
when it comes to certain moral things.
Right. They don't want to alienate us. Yeah.
Right. They don't want to alienate us anymore. So they're real good. But you got to be careful how you want to do this if you do DNA.
Yeah.
And again, but it's complicated. You will be frustrated. You will be aggravated. You will say this wasn't worth it. But it is if you take the time to learn it.
Right. Now, if we're talking about DNA, we need to talk about 23andMe, which was the most popular company doing this. And they filed for Chapter 11 in March 2025. And the bankruptcy court ruled that the company could sell customer genetic data as an asset. The business was ultimately bought by a nonprofit research institute in July of 2025. But still, all of that genetic data is out there. Your genetic data is the least revocable thing you can give away. You can change your password, but you can't change your genes. And thus you're disclosing information about yourself and about relatives who never consented. I've never done 23andMe, but my sister has. I don't blame her. I don't mean this as a negative.
I did it too.
Yeah, but my DNA is in there, is in her DNA. And so my genetic information is connected to that. So it's just something to keep aware of when you do
some of it.
Yeah.
Just know you didn't get, everybody gets a different mixture.
Yes. Right.
So while you share certain things, you don't share other things. And I think a lot of us go to 23andMe because of the health. I was looking for specific genes.
Right.
As far for health reasons. And that's why I went there.
Right. And you just need to go in with your eyes wide open and understanding the consequences, potential consequences, and what's going on when you do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And what they can know and what they don't know. Like, this isn't like CSI where they know you have brown eyes. That's not how it works.
Right.
So cloud and digital storage can prevent physical loss. Again, a scanned and properly backed up photo survives the house fire, the flood, the estate sale, the well-meaning relative with a dumpster.
Yes, and all this research that you do used to generate paper upon paper upon paper. So the more you're digitizing it and putting it somewhere safe, I mean, if you need paper to do this, fine, but I started in digital. Yeah. So I'm lucky I did. I didn't have to get into all the paper charts and everything.
Right. So save that stuff too. That aspect. Yep. Good software can organize and safeguard your research. Roots Magic, Family Tree Maker are good family tree software. Let's see. Now you mentioned Roots Magic.
I use a different one.
What's that?
I use a different keeper.
Now, and again, this is software. Companies go out of business. They stop making it, that sort of thing. So keep it in mind. You want to especially use software that, or at least back up to open formats. Like GEDCOM is an open genealogical format.
Every one of these you should be able to export your material through GEDCOM. If you find one that you can't, don't ever use it. Right. Because then you're stuck within their environment. But every one of these is worth their salt, has GEDCOM. I use one from France called Herodes, and I've always liked it because I find it was close to one that I was using that the Mormon Church had given for free for a long time. So it was closest to that. Most people use Roots Magic or Family Tree Maker. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. Right. What you should never do is have your tree in a service like Ancestry or even Family Search, which is free. And that's the only copy you have. Right. Because people can play with those. Right. If you don't know how to lock them down. Yes. And you don't want that. You don't want people playing or taking your information either. Although there's ways for them to take it without, doing things to it. Right. That's a very good point. We mentioned the AI assisted archives, like state archives and these genealogical, but AI tools are becoming more accessible to folks like us, so they can, look at damaged photos, hard to read handwritten records, and pull the information out of it, like we mentioned. Quality varies depending on the tools, but MyHeritage has the best photo restoration manipulation software. They can make your photos look like they're talking. That's scary.
That is kind of scary. Right.
Your photo's looking like it's talking. I'm like, no, I'm not into that.
They bring them to life, and the people, again,
and they're good.
Once you're doing that, you're no longer. That's right. It's the AI's idea of how grandma behaved, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
See, podcast, video, audio recording. We're definitely going to get into this as a separate topic, but there are tools out there that let you record oral history, people's own voices, their own pauses, their own laughs, their own accent. Those are priceless.
Yes.
And so, you could do it just with your phone, like I said, or there are other services that will give you questions to ask and all kinds of stuff like that. So there are levels to this that we'll dive into in another episode.
And I'll bet a decent amount of money that MyHeritage will figure out how to take the audio, put it into those pictures that talk, and that's going to be a whole nother thing.
I can have a video of my dad from the 1950s telling his Navy stories. That would be very weird.
Yikes.
So some caveats. Technology preserves access to family history. It doesn't replace verification, right? You got to be clear. Records carry transcription errors. Search indexes then inherit them. The scan is the source, but an index is somebody's interpretation of the source. So look at the originals as much as you can, not just the transcription.
But even then, sometimes the information is wrong, depending on the person who wrote it, what they heard.
I've seen that. Yeah.
This is a lot for immigrants. Americans, who've been, spoke English, came from the colonies. It's a lot different for them. But immigrants, especially if they heard if your name was Sousa and they heard Sosa, that's what they put on the record.
Yep. I've seen that.
You may not be able to, you may not be able to find your relative.
Right. Yeah. I've seen the census records of my dad's family, and every census, they got one of the Italian names wrong. They just wrote it down wrong or whatever. They weren't careful. They just were doing a job.
My father's first name was Bento. Okay, that's definitely Portuguese. He's listed as Benjamin.
Right.
Ben. And then we had a last name of Grota, which was not our real family name. It was Medeiros.
Oh, wow.
So some people knew the family as Medeiros. Some people knew the family as Grota. And I always have to go look in both places.
Right. And it's the same way with DNA. DNA needs context to ethnicity estimates or statistical inferences. Just because the DNA comes back and says you are 15% or worse, if you're 3% Asian,
yes,
that's 3% is not enough to make any definitive conclusions about your DNA. So you got to be discerning with that sort of thing as well.
I have a little bit of Ashkenazi Jewish in one of my lines. I went from 9% to less than 2% in the same company over 10 years.
Right. Yes. So,
it's so, okay, fine.
Again, cloud storage isn't permanent unless it's actively maintained. The account has to be paid for, kept accessible. So back it up yourself in your own multiple, again, in the 3-2-1 way. And as you mentioned, online genealogical family trees errors compound quickly.
Oh, yes, they do. Yeah. You can find good information in some of them, but you've got to do, as one of my family historians likes to say, you got to do the genealogy.
Right.
Just don't take it, I found the answer. No, back it up with a document.
Right. So technology is the tool, but careful research practice, that is what archiving in history is really about. So there's tools, but you need to do the work in it. All right, I want to move on. There's a whole section just on the philosophy of it, but we've spent a lot of time on this. I want to move on. We're going to come back to this topic, but I want to close with some actions you can take this week. Find the oldest tape in your house. Figure out whether anything can still play it. That answer determines your urgency. This month, scan 20 photos, not 2,000, just to start Momentum beats completeness. And then the one thing you'll regret skipping, sitting down with the oldest person in your family, put photos in front of them, hit record. If you don't do that before they're gone, you're going to regret it. Trust me, I know this already. So what's the one item you'd run back into your house for if it was on fire, right? Let us know. What's the one thing the most precious thing in your house? You can email us, technology@sqpn.com, or go on our Discord and share your information on that.
Go
ahead.
And don't forget, start with you. You are the most important repository right now of information. You want to go find your relatives, but don't forget, you hold a lot of information.
Right.
Get it down now.
Yes, exactly. We'll have a ton of links to resources for everything we've talked about. So check the show notes for that. We do have our picks of the week I want to get to, but before we do that, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Chris P., Carl D., Valcovius. I love the Latin name. We have Roman citizens who are our patrons. Rob G. and Mary S. Their generous donations at GiveStarQuest.com make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting GiveStarQuest.com. So, Joanne, what's your pick this week?
Oh, I got a good one. Mm-hmm. We've talked about putting all of the, restoring all these things, putting them in a safe place. All of my videos are in a NAS, my little Synology. They're also available through my Plex server. So if I want to watch old cabaret tapes or wedding videos or anything, Plex now, well, it's not Plex, but somebody came up with this creative idea. It's called Bunny Ears TV. It's your Plex library on live television. So what they did was they created an app that would look like a streaming service.
Okay.
So it asks you for access to your Plex library. Then it asks you which categories you want, and it turns them into channels. So you get your top picks, you get your rom-coms, you get your adventure movies, you get, popcorn. There's one about popcorn thrillers.
Okay.
And what it does is it curates your media collection for people like my husband, who just wants to click on the television set and, flip through and try to watch something.
Right.
It puts all of your media that way.
And it's live
hysterical.
TV in the sense of it's playing, like you go to the guide and something is playing. Mm-hmm, like it's already in progress.
Now, that doesn't mean it's making your Plex do that, but it'll
start playing
it on.
At a certain point within it to kind of simulate live TV.
Yep, and it is phenomenal.
That's kind of funny that we're going back to that idea.
And it's interesting because I think it's being created by much younger people than me.
Yeah.
But they're attracted to it. Whereas my husband's just starting to play with it going, okay, I got to try to figure this out. I'm like, you're thinking too much. Yeah. It's Philo.
Yeah.
It's our channels app.
Just channel
That's
surf.
all it is.
Just channel surf. Yeah. It's back. And I get the appeal. It's having to figure out of all the plethora of things that I could stream tonight on the dozen streaming services and all of the shows that they have, having to decide one of those. Sometimes you just want to sit down and what's on.
Right, because Plex, you have to go to your Plex, go to your, different categories, go look for the movies alphabetically.
Right.
So what this does, it cuts out the middleman.
If you've ripped a lot of DVDs and of like TV shows and movies, this would work. But there's no reason it can't work like this for your family videos too.
It works fine for family. You can create, there's a free tier, just like anything else. There's a free tier, and then there's subscriptions. So you have a monthly, a yearly, and a lifetime.
Okay. Because
I got into it early, I got a real cheap lifetime.
Okay.
Which is great. But right now it'll be, I believe it's, I don't want to quote incorrectly here.
And I don't think on the website.
No, they didn't, because they haven't done that. I see it in the subreddit.
Okay.
I think it's something like $6 $6.99 a month, $99 a year.
Yeah, I'm looking in the App Store. So it's
something like that.
It's $30 lifetime.
That's going away quickly.
Okay. That's okay. Right now on the App Store, it says $30 lifetime. So move quick.
Right.
$18 for a year, $3 a month. So
yeah, see, that's all changing because now he has the apps for iOS and iPad OS.
Okay.
So now it's going to be Apple TV, iPad, phone.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to bother doing it for
the
Mac OS,
yeah.
But it now makes your movies and your TV shows and
well, that's the other part of this too, is once you've digitized all this stuff, you got to look at it.
Right. Sitting there doing nothing is...
Put it on there, and next time Thanksgiving, Christmas, the summer barbecue, just turn on your TV, put it on this, and have the videos playing just in the background, and people will gather around and see their family history. I love
and
that.
It will do the same thing with music. So if you put your music library in it, it'll do the same. Like cable channels have all those music channels.
Yeah.
It'll do the exact same thing. I haven't done that yet, but that's my next.
I did see one feature where if you want, you can turn on ads, the old TV ads.
You can.
That could be fun.
You can.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that I've recorded still has ads in them.
But this will go
nowadays.
I assume this is going to like YouTube and grabbing like the ads.
I don't know what how he's doing that.
It looks like he's like grabbing ads and putting them in from whatever source. But yeah, that sounds kind of fun. Could get tedious after a while, but it sounds a little fun too.
It is a lot of fun, and it's been the most fun I've had in a while with streaming stuff. So I'm
gonna have to check this out. I've now got a TV in my family living room. Like we never had a TV out there. We always had the TV in my office but now that it's out there, it's easier for us to just throw something on for the kids to watch stuff. So they might enjoy that. That's a great pick. So my pick is, this is a throwback. SpamSieve is really powerful email spam filtering software for your Mac. I started using SpamSieve decades ago. Like this was around 20 years ago. Like this is long lived. I kind of went away from it when I kind of consolidated in Gmail, and the Gmail spam filters were good enough, eventually. But I recently moved my personal email account to Fastmail, and I'm like, I want to get a better, spam filtering. And I'm like, SpamSieve's still around, and it works really well. So the way you use it is you basically train it on a corpus of good email and bad email. So you're going to collect your spam for a while, this all spam stuff. And then, you when you first install SpamSieve, you point it at, say, this is all good email. This is all stuff I want you to let through. And the more of that you have, the better it will be trained. And then you point it at, okay, this is all spam. And you often get, I find that a lot of my spam these days is similar. The same sort of things. I don't know why, but they sort of target you. The Nigerian princes, sure. European lotteries, and sure. But there's also other stuff too. I get a lot of political spam, like random. But in any case, you train it, and then it starts working right off the bat. And then over time, as stuff comes in, there are keyboard shortcuts. Oh, this is spam. Move it into the spam folder. Train onto this. You let this through. This is not good. And then you kind of spend some time going through your spam folder every once in a while, and you look for false positives. You say, no, that's good. And there's a key command that goes back into the inbox. That's good. And then over time, it learns your mail and works really well. And this will work with Apple Mail software, Outlook, Airmail, MailMate, a whole bunch of different mail client software on the Mac again. It doesn't work on iOS and iPad OS natively due to the sandboxing that's involved. But if you have, like most people do, a modern IMAP or Exchange Mail account, it filters it there too. Like once it filters it on your Mac, that filtering then goes back to the cloud and the IMAP. So
Now, you didn't find this on your Take a Drink Everybody Set app?
No, this is not on setup. This is a separate thing. Again,
Good.
I've used this for ages.
Okay.
They have a license. It's not a subscription. You buy it, you got it. You'll pay for the upgrades eventually. But it's a $40 license for one user. You can have family or 2 users is $64, and it goes up from there. If you have a business, they have 10 and 50 from there. So yeah, and they also have another program called Eagle Filer that archives email, which is really nice. Although I use a different piece of software, so I'll mention at some point, called Mail Steward, to do that as well, archiving email. So that's my pick.
I may try that.
Yeah, that's Spam Sieve is good. I gave up for a while, but they still have a place. Even on Gmail, they still have a place. All right, so that's it from us this time. We'd love to get your feedback on this big topic of family history preservation. You can do that by sending us an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. Let us know, what is the one thing you would go back for? I really want to hear from folks. You'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week in our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC354. And of course, you can find previous episodes at sqpn.com/technology. You can follow The Secrets of Tech in Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, TuneIn, in your favorite podcast app, or YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. And also, if you write a review of this podcast in Apple Podcasts or any place to let you do ratings reviews, that helps a lot, as does sharing the podcast. If you don't want to be the one that archives your family's history, there's someone in your family who will. Share the podcast with them so that they will take the lead in doing it, because every family should be doing this. And that helps us grow our community and reach more listeners. So until next time, Joanne Mercier, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy, The Secrets of Middle-earth. Find it wherever you can find podcasts or at sqpn.com/Middle-earth.